Hi, everybody. Gosh, it's been a journey this week. I'm really thankful and feel very blessed that we can be here together again right before Shabbos. I hope all is well. Thank you for all your prayers. Yes, it's been a journey. I am so thankful that, thank God, things are going well. It's going to be a little busy with a lot to do between having to suddenly move again, and also someone was really not had an accident and had to have surgery, and just being there by the hospital, and then appointments and physical therapy, so it's getting me busier than busy. But so hopefully here and there we'll have some time to learn together. Trust me, when I share, it makes me stronger, so I'm thankful to you that I have what to share. And today in the brain training, we're going to focus on the vacated space. And train our mind how to vacate that space. You got it, your heart. It's a teaching of Hasidus that when God created the world, he made room for the world to exist. So he kind of vacated out of the way so that a creation can exist. So we're taught our heart is that space that we need to vacate of anger and sadness and anxiety, so that there will be a lot of space, cleared space, so much good can flow inward. The way in which, for instance, we breathe, right? So we're breathing in like cool air so that it could cool off our heart. The same thing is happening in our life. We're trying to take in and breathe in the spiritual air of our words of prayer, our words of Torah, and this energy, this spiritual cooling effect has on our heart, so that our passions and our negative character traits doesn't get the better of us. So I wrote some notes because it's something new and exciting that I've been learning. And even though I've been learning it again and again, every time I learn something again, there's just like this different angle, this different inspiration that comes out even of the same words. So it says that Hirhur Harlev are the thoughts of our heart. And what happens is, it's like there can be a conflict between one thought and another thought, and there's like this battle, and there's like it's like from one thought that's going to another thought, and because basically in our heart there's the Yetzer Hara. So the more we try our best to clear our heart with the passion and the words and of tefillah and of Torah, it calms down and cools off, and as if it were creating that empty space, so that more and more of our true self can take space and can exist and can be seen and can be experienced. And it's interesting, in this week's Parsha, Bilam says that the Jewish people are like a rock, and the rock represents something very solid, right? Something very very strong, in fact, we always say God is our rock, because that's an image of Hashem. Hashem is so strong and he's so powerful. So Bilam was likening us to, in this week's Parsha, remember the story where Balak the king wants to hire Bilam to curse the Jewish people, and he doesn't, because God doesn't let him, And instead of saying wicked words against the Jewish people, Hashem caused that, like a prophecy to come out, and blessings. He's just blessing the Jewish people with his mouth. So the idea of a rock, when you're that solid and when you're that strong, you have that kind of stamina that nothing in the world can like blow you over. Nothing in the world could erode you and your true essence of who you are. But in fact, a rock isn't, as the best image that Bilam could have, used to represent us, because really a rock can erode. So like our soul, nothing, no matter what someone says, or no matter what someone does, we can build up to that strength as a rock, and even better than a rock, like, so that we don't let circumstance erode us. And trust me, this week, this meant more than anything to me, to inspire myself not to let what's going on in my personal life, take away my faith and my trust in Hashem, that everything he does for good, and just keep on trying your best, to cope. So it's interesting, because when Bilam was actually talking about the Jewish people and saying that, there were none of the doors of the tents were opposite one another. You remember that? We earlier in our series we talked about the tents, that it represents that we shouldn't look into other people's tents. Because right now, when we're thinking back, when Bilam said such a very compliment to the Jewish people, it was complimenting them that they have the power not to align each and everyone's door in front of each other, because we're so modest, we're so careful that we just didn't make the two doors align with one another, so that we didn't look into someone else's tent, so we didn't look into someone else's business of them being not a perfect saint. And the more you train yourself to like not look at other people when in their weaknesses, and just focus on yourself and what you have to strengthen, then you become stronger. Then what they're saying doesn't as much, bring you down. Then you become more like a rock, because it's not your business where they're holding in their spiritual or emotional or even intellectual development. That's between them and Hashem. And all you really can do is look at your own tent. So another explanation of this whole story in this parsha is that a door of a tent represents one's mouth. And so that no two mouths, as it were opposite one another. And what does that mean? That means if someone's saying something and you don't agree, then you don't oppose them, you don't fight with them, you don't argue with them, you don't bicker with them. And like so many times people do that, even for like no real reason. They're just like sitting there having a meal together, and someone says something and the other one says no, like all the time I see also adults do it, but even children, like that they do it against their parents. And I'm like, you're just a child. How do you think you're so more knowledgeable than your parent? It's so easy. And you see it, and adults do it. It's just like this habit of like, I know better. And, I don't know, maybe people are bored and they just want to say what they want to say without really thinking it through, that, it's not worth arguing. It's not worth bickering, even if you are right. And especially in a public way, it's just not, it's like shameful. It's shaming. So the message is that we should be careful of the doors of our body, which is our mouth, because it's opening up and something's going to come out of it. And that we should be careful not to be against the other with our words. In fact, the whole idea of language and speaking, that's what actually makes us the higher creation, because we have the ability to use our words to connect, to unite, to share ideas, but not to bicker. And the Hebrew language is actually called Lashon HaKodesh, which means a holy tongue. So we don't want to use our tongue to be against someone as if it's a weapon. We want it to be not against one another. And actually, just recently I was learning a Pirkei Avot, and it was stated that in Pirkei Avot, that, like, if we didn't study Torah, that we would swallow each other alive. Very interesting, like, way of saying, you better study Torah because, like, you're going to become like a lowlife. Wait a minute. Like, if you think about Pirkei Avot is like for people who want to get to the next level. It's people that do study Torah. It's people who, it's like, like the whole idea of like Hasidus is to get to that next level and to do an even greater, kindness to Hashem, because you want to get closer to Hashem. So it's always working on, like, status quo is not enough. It's always like, let's do more of, a hider mitzvah, maybe beautify it with more love, beautify it with more passion in doing it. There's always like, we want to go higher and higher. So why is this that we're going to swallow each other alive? So the teaching is people that start really learning Torah have to be careful, because then all of a sudden they can think they're so great. They can think they're so, like a rock and like a rock star, or, and they feel like they're so great, and they can end up with their wisdom, with their Torah knowledge, swallow someone else up alive. Like, not swallow them, but like their pride. They can end up shaming them. They could behave like, I'm better than thou and I know better, and like say it as it is in a public way, and like shame someone else for what they know or their ideas. So this whole theme is like trying to teach us not to use our mouth, especially when we become more wise, in a way that is arrogant, right? There's like this hard like rock that's also doesn't budge and is like a stone, and it's heartless, and it's not good, and then causing damage, even though the person is knowledgeable. So we have to be careful our knowledge doesn't end up being used as a weapon and not be against the other that doesn't know as much or has their own opinion of things. And we learn in the Torah, there's shivim panim. There's 70 different facets of Torah. And even though diametrically opposite, meaning a total opposite understanding of a pasuk of a Torah, this rabbi says this and this rabbi says that, and we're taught that both are true. You're like, how can it be? It's either yes or is it no? But Hashem tells us there's just different facets that in this lifetime we might not understand how two things that are opposite can both be true. But it's true. I mean, even something in the world. Do you know that a light wave, there was many, people that, saying that a light wave is like a straight line, like a beam. And then other scientists were saying, no, a light wave is a wave. It's like, it's not straight, it's wavy. And they did the research, and they found that people who thought that it was a beam, what they thought, then the end of the test results was a beam, like a straight line. And those that thought that the light particles was a wave, guess what? In the end, the research showed that it was a wave. So how could it be both? Right? So you see it in science that two opposing things can be true. So too, we see Hashem is teaching us there's two opposing views in the Torah, and one doesn't mean that the other is not true. So, the Lashon HaKodesh, we want to use our tongue in a way that brings unity, that will bring Mashiach that much closer and not disunity. We see our mouth, the more we use it in a holy and good way, and we've said this, many times over, but the more we use our voice in prayer, the more we use our voice in learning Torah, the more the Yetzer Hara can take our voice, our words, and cause us to have disputes. I remember one time I was at a bris milah, and the Rabbi Deitch of Kolol, Tzemach Tzedek, was saying, we all have a power, a divine gift to fight our Yetzer Hara, to fight against the temptation of behaving not nicely, to fight the temptation of giving up, to fight the battle and not just say I can't. So too, if we don't invest that energy to fight our Yetzer Hara, we'll end up fighting with other people. It's so important. So if you see yourself, my dear children, people, children, and that are fighting, just say, wow, I think I have to upgrade that use of my fighting energy against my Yetzer Hara. And in fact, there's a pasuk in Tanya that says, Gvura mamtik gvura, which, what does that mean? Gvura, which is like a fighting energy. It's like a discipline energy. It's like strength, like a rock. Now, if you have something strong in you, let's say you tend to be angry, you tend to be loud, or you tend to be a show-off, and better, that's kind of what we're focusing on here today, then if you use your strength to combat that strength, then you'll succeed. You can't be lazy about it, basically. If you're sluggish and, I don't want, you just go with whatever, then you're not going to win the battle against this Yetzer Hara. Gvura, you need to be strong. You need to be with a lot of strength. Mamtik means to sweeten. Because you're using strength in a good and holy way, you're fighting the enemy within, then it will sweeten, it will diminish your fighting energy with other people. And I know children don't want to fight. They really don't. It's just all of a sudden they're fighting. How did that happen? As if something is taking over. No more. We have to be more on top of it. The Tanya actually gives an example of two people wrestling. One is very skinny and very old and frail, and it's on top of a very strong, muscular wrestler. And the skinny one, the old, frail one, is winning. How is that possible? Well, imagine that scene. The stronger one is sleeping. So the old, frail, weak one is really our Yetzer Hara. It doesn't really have power. And the strong and muscular one is really the Yetzer Tov. But it's sleeping. So that's why the Yetzer Hara has a power over it. And remember, what do we need to do to get the Yetzer Tov and our godly essence not in a slumber state? So, what do we do to wake it up? We take the breath of the holy words of prayer that like splashes water and like wakes it up. It just really gets it out of its slumber state. And then it has the power to be the master over the mouth. Remember, peh comes from the word chesed ve'ahava. Chesed and ahava, which means you want to use your mouth with kindness and love. And that equals Shechina beinehem. When you do that, when you use your mouth with chesed and with ahava, with kindness and love, then the Shechina rests amongst the two of you. The godly energies, like all the brachas, come into your home, into your mind, into your heart. Lashon HaKodesh, we want our tongue to be holy. We want that it's not opposite the other. We don't want to swallow someone else with our words. We want to be very, very careful. We don't want to be stubborn like a rock and still fight through our way, like my way or the highway. No, I'm right and you don't know. Especially, you have to be careful with, when dealing with your parents or an older brother, an older sister, and we have to be gentle with our words. And if we think we are right on something, there's a way to say, isn't maybe I learned this, and just with a gentle way, with a humbleness, not with a arrogant pushing your ideas and being, dominant, God forbid. So, Bilam teaches us a lot. We want to really be careful that our job on this earth is like what David HaMelech taught us. David HaMelech would say, "Halal b'kirbi," meaning he said that his heart, he worked on it very hard on his heart to be empty of arrogance, empty of himself. And we have to try to follow David HaMelech's ways. He was so great. He was a king. He had every reason to feel mighty, right? But he constantly was working on humbling himself. He constantly was trying to empty his heart out. And there's a pasuk that says, "In the heart of a wise, I have placed wisdom." This is what Hashem says to us. In the heart of the wise, I have placed wisdom. A wise heart. A wise heart. When you have ego out of your heart, the arrogance, the anger, the sadness, and you make that empty space of your heart, again, through prayer and through learning Torah, then what happens is your heart is empty, and the filling up of God's wisdom now is residing in your heart. And really, when you feel more and more God in your heart, that's the only place that matters. The number one place that you want to invite God in is your heart. And another name for Hashem is Makom. So again, the pasuk is the only place that matters is your heart. So the place means Hashem. So the only thing you want in your heart, the only thing, is Hashem, God's wisdom. Because then, honestly, that's when you have peace on earth. That's when you can live in your own skin. That's how you have the power not to let other people make you feel inadequate or make you feel like, you know, a nobody. Because a lot of people, you know, get hurt by the people around them, how they're treating them, how they're not treating them, how they're ignoring them, how they're not spending time with them, how they're speaking to them, and then like the person can really get sad and upset. But if they have God in their heart and they realize, I'm not going to look into their tent, I'm not going to take it personally, the behavior that they're behaving. That's they have to work on it between them and Hashem. I feel bad for them. I feel compassion for them. I wish them well. I wish they would open their eyes. I would say, like, when those things happen, learn a lesson of like what that felt like to you, and make sure you learn a lesson and don't do it to other people, or at least it's a goal to try not to be like that. So in a way, when people treat you that way, it's like a gift. It's like a gift of knowledge of, look how it makes me feel when they behave that way. So I'm going to learn a lesson from this. Instead of feeling like a victim, instead of feeling so down and like hurt by it, switch it. Say, wow, thank you, Hashem. You gave me this lesson that I can be like more careful not to like be like them. And then I always say, celebrate you. Thank Hashem that He gave you a little awareness of and a softer soul, or so. Yeah. So even when you have Hashem in your heart, then you have a stronger mindset. You have more wisdom in how to deal with people and not let it bother you and make you broken by it. You could still stay strong like a rock. And not strong like a rock where you're like, you know, stubborn. So we have to like really try hard, because our heart can get clogged. Just like a heart can get clogged with excess, like if your father's a doctor, or you're familiar with the, you know, the heart, like if you eat really bad food, it can get like clogged. Just like you know, on your teeth, if you eat bad food, you can get plaque on your teeth. So you can get like plaque on your heart, and it could clog it up a bit. And that's how people have heart attacks, God forbid, because they're not careful, you know, to eat right and exercise right, to get rid of like the clogging up of the heart physically. So the same thing spiritually, your heart can get clogged up with a lot of gook. And that is when, you know, you're too much chasing after, like, you know, the material, too much indulgence and running after things that are not godly. And okay, they might not be sinful, but it's just like too much of it ends up like clogging your heart. You're not unclearing your heart. You're like putting more gook in it by getting too involved in things that are just not l'shem shemaim and not for Hashem. So, you know, and just like doctors can prescribe certain medicines to unclog the heart, well, really, what is the spiritual medicine? And that is prayer, meditation, learning Torah. That's like a prescription. Hashem gives us a prescription here. If you have a clogged heart, if you're stone-like and you have no feeling and you have no, you know, connection to the things you're doing, and you're just like robotic, that means you have to upgrade your davening, you have to upgrade your learning Torah, and you have to upgrade your tshuva, and you have to upgrade your faith in Hashem, because all this will help you more. And then all of a sudden your heart will start to be free, and you'll vacate the space in your heart. So you need a daily dosage of this doctor's prescription from heaven above. And we're supposed to serve Hashem with all of our heart, with devotion. And with that, we'll get rid of a lot of judgments. We'll get rid of having that arrogant feeling toward other people. Because when you have a humble heart, you just don't judge people so much. Because you realize, you know, I have my own work to do, and they have their own work to do. And like, they are who they are. And it's not going to, you know, affect you in the way that you used to. So, are you ready to train your brain to be hard like a rock, but not too hard in the way that, that you can become stone-hearted and God forbid, arrogant, and God forbid, in a way that the knowledge of the Torah can actually become a poison. Arrogance. We're taught, we shouldn't use our righteousness for wickedness. Meaning, like, because we learned so much and because we've become wise, we have to be careful to still be humble and not use our wisdom in a way to put other people down or to make them feel like they don't know as much as we do. So important. So, we're going to go to the second part of our brain training today, and we're going to focus our attention on the way in which we're going to do this art project is going to help you remember, especially if you have a physical reminder of what you learned, because it's like a beautiful picture. But actually, even if you throw away that picture and never look at it again, it does have an impact while you're making the picture. It's like imprinting and ingraining that image in your mindset so that you will remember it. Have you ever gone somewhere and you saw something and then even 6 months later it pops up in your head and you just saw it once, right? So imagine you're actually physically making a project right now. So I see the two tents, the doors of the tents, and we're training ourselves not to look at other people's tents. We're training ourselves right now to not use our mouth opposite, because the tent is the door of our being. Because when we say words, it's like it expresses who we are. But if we use the right words, then it expresses the real neshama that we are. If we use Yetzer Hara words, then it doesn't really express who we really are. It's just the Yetzer Hara who's just stealing our words and using it in a not good way. So you can make two doors aligned in the tent, and then you could see that your door of your tent is not going to be opposite someone else's door. Meaning, if they say an idea, you're not going to oppose what they're saying arrogantly and shame them in public. And it could be something so casual, but it really is not casual. People do it all the time. We gotta a little bit be aware of that, and maybe today make a commitment to at least catch ourselves when we automatically go, "Nah, that's not true." Sometimes a parent will say, "Oh, we went to the restaurant 3 days ago," and the child goes, "It was Sunday." Okay, so maybe it was Sunday and your mother forgot, but you have to be careful. Even the silliest, smallest, situations where you want to say the truth of what you know, and it just you didn't have to. So what? It was not on Sunday. Why shame your mother that she forgot, or your father, or whatever, or your brother, or your sister, whoever? So you can make a picture of one lips next to the other lips, and write Lashon HaKodesh, and I don't know, just do images of healthy, positive words going between one another, and maybe with a big heart, because you want to use your mouth with love. I actually started a group a while ago. Someone asked me to teach Lashon Hara classes, Shmirat HaLashon, if you want to call it, and I decided to call it the language of love, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to use our words with love. And if we use our words with love, we wouldn't say something bad about other people, right? The more we focus on loving one another, then the more we're not going to be so quick to say negative words, especially arrogant negative words. So, those are some ideas that I have. If you have any other ideas, we could talk about the vacated space. So you can I don't know, the image came to me, a heart, and then like this, you know how they have these like, it's like, I don't have one here, but I used to have one. It's just like this, they use it for baking and cooking, where it's like a suction cup. And you squeeze the top and go, and like the juice of whatever you're cooking gets out of the pot, and it gets in this like, it almost looks like a, you know, those dispensers for medicine where you have to take the medicine out, and you go like, you know, you squeeze the top and the syrup or the cough medicine goes out in it, and then you let it back into the child's mouth, whatever. So it's like, I see that image of like vacating our heart, like making space and like getting the gook out. So you can make a picture of that if you want, and then see the other heart now empty, and now see pouring in like the Torah inside. We've done that kind of idea before, something like that. But I'm trying to think. Anything else? Any ideas? Any questions before we go to the next part of our brain training? Well, thank you everyone. Such last minute, and you came on. I know I did it at this later hour. I said better later than nothing. Okay, so let's then now do a meditation. The vacated heart. I like that. It's vacant. You know, you see these signs, vacant. Yeah, I've been going through a lot of those signs. Oh my gosh. Finally, we did find a place. Please God, it should all go well. And we're gonna have to move like in a week and a half. So it's starting to get busy. Imagine. So vacated. Gonna vacate this place. Oh, I love this place. But what? Hashem wants me to elevate the spark somewhere else. So I have this image of a vacated heart, and I'm trying not to laugh too much about my circumstance, but it helps, right? All right, so now we're going to close our eyes, and we're going to take a deep breath, and with every breath we take, we're going to try to focus on the vacated heart. And so before you try to think of a place, it just helps you become relaxed. A vacated place that has room for you. And you see yourself walking at a distance toward that vacated space. It's just so beautiful, and it's just all clear for you to enjoy. And you're just like watching, you're just watching yourself like be at peace and like calmly walking toward this place. It's just so full of tranquility, and it brings you such calmness just thinking about getting closer to this place. And then like you see the place, and it has a gate, and on the gate it has a sign. This is a vacated place for you, but you need to vacate all negative energies before entering here. So you just make a conscious decision that like no worries are coming with you, nothing negative, no stress, no heartaches, nothing. Just clearing everything to go into this vacated space. And in this vacated space, there's nothing negative. It's only positivity all around. Only positive images are allowed in this place. And you walk in, and you feel really good, and you feel really calm. And you have a time to think of what you need to do to vacate your heart day in and day out. You take a moment and you just focus your attention on your heart as you're sitting in this beautiful place, and you have the time to think deeply. And you have a moment to dream about what it'll be like with your vacated heart. Imagine life without the anger, the sadness, the anxiousness, What will it be like when the heart is empty of all this and everything else positive has room to flow inward? So as you're sitting there and you're breathing in the cool air, and it is calming your heart and cooling your heart down, you think about the breath of God's wisdom, the breath of God's knowledge. You think about the Torah, which is God's breath, cooling your heart down and creating space. And you feel your heart really making room now. You feel your heart ready to just let go and remove all that is not positive. Feel your heart getting really ready. Feel your heart getting stronger with the positivity. Feel everything become so positive within you. And then see an image. Now that your heart was vacated, now that your heart became filled up with positivity, with love, with chesed, with kindness, with everything that is positive, see an image of yourself guarding your mouth, only letting positivity come out. See yourself with your mouth sharing knowledge in a humble way. See yourself in a situation with your family, maybe with your parents, maybe with a sibling, and you're listening, and you're not opposing, you're not argumentative, you're not using your strength in an unholy way. You're using your strength to refrain, to restrain your mouth. Using your strength to fight the Yetzer Hara, that you won't give in to those words that are offensive, that you won't bicker and argue, especially for no reason. And you feel stronger, and you feel God's energies flowing more and more into you, because that's what happens when you refrain and you restrain yourself, and you vacated your mouth, your heart, your head, just constantly then is a open vessel to receive more and more of God's wisdom. You become wiser. Remember, we just learned that Hashem gives more wisdom to those who have a clear heart. Wow. You're feeling that strong, holy energy fill you up now that you vacated that space. And then say a prayer. Please, Hashem, let this image of having vacated my heart, having made room, please, Hashem, give me the strength to vacate my mouth from the words that are causing disputes, from the words that have caused me to bicker and fight. Please help me vacate my mouth as well as my heart. And you know Hashem is helping. You know Hashem is listening. You know He is so happy for the efforts that you have made to vacate space for Hashem to make a place ready for him, for his wisdom, for his love, for his kindness. Do you see it? And then start to feel the strength of your legs. I'm walking toward peace. My legs will take me to unity. My heart will take me to peaceful relationships. My heart will be forgiving. My heart will be open to love. My heart will be ready to unite. Your arms more ready to hug, more ready to help. And you're smiling because you know now you're better for this. Now that you learn this, it's going to really inspire you and motivate you to keep that strength for good things. And your eyes, as you're opening your eyes, you see the truth. The truth of how Hashem just loves you and wants to pour everything into you. And you just have to do your little part. Vacate that space. Blessings to you all. I wish you a Shabbat Shalom. Maybe even share this at the Devar Torah at your Shabbos table. And definitely show them your whites, that you're smiling, and you don't have to say more than that. Bezrat Hashem. Miss you, everyone, and I'll try my best in the interim. My goal is, since now, lots of children are anyway in camp, at least once a week, maybe, maybe more than that, but I'll try to commit to once a week in the midst of everything that I'm going through. Gosh, but really appreciate every limb that is working, because seeing this person and not being able to do the simplest of basic things makes my heart goes out to all those who are suffering even more. So really appreciate and be grateful for everything that's working in you right now. And maybe with your greater appreciation, it'll just give so many blessings to the world to heal, like in a miraculous way. I can't even imagine, constantly when I see people suffering, we all are doing our part, so keep doing your part. Share this with other people, let's bring more peace to the world. Let's have more Lashon HaKodesh, holy tongue, and peace and unity. That's what we all got to help each other. So thank you for doing your part. And we'll hopefully soon be in Israel with Mashiach Tzidkenu, Techav Umiyad Mamish. Bye-bye. I don't see any questions, but I'm glad you were all here to join. Bye. And keep shining by smiling.